What got you to where you are now in the situation that you're in now? What life experiences have you had that have led to the point that you're at now in terms of your career and what you do for with other people?
Yeah, I'd ultimately, it's got to be anxiety. And if I hadn't had that experience of anxiety for the length of time that I did, I wouldn't be standing here now. We're talking to you, sitting here now, talking to you. So yeah, I'd say that was a defining moment. It was a long stretch of time. It was like 5 years of crippling anxiety. So we've spoken about it before, but yeah, it was without that, I wouldn't have dived into the world of personal development. I wouldn't have had as much pain, which then therefore kind of catapulted me into wanting to change so much and grow. So yeah, I would say anxiety is what led me to where I am. Yeah.
What came first? And I don't know whether if you can define yourself as being like ever cured of anxiety. It's not really a thing that just goes away necessarily. Although happy to hear your thoughts on that.
Mm.
Um, but what came first? The sort of coaching that did that help the anxiety, or was it a case of like anxiety's gone now? I'm going to help people, or was there some sort of like crossover?
Yeah, no, I was most definitely helping people while I was experiencing anxiety, but going through that process of helping people allowed me to help myself. Yeah, so I was learning different bits and pieces from books and courses and other people and other coaches, and I thought, okay, well, if I can feel 5% better, maybe I can help that person who's 5% worse than me feel that 5% better, and then by helping them feel 5% better, I then help myself, and then it kind of kept going like that. And I would say that I very rarely experience anxiety, if at all, anymore. Yeah, it's just a very, if it is, it's more of a discomfort. But discomfort for me is kind of a good sign. I'm like, okay, well, I'm moving in the right direction. If I'm wanting to try something and challenge myself, if I feel a hint of anxiety, it'll be like, okay, right, this is good for you, because it kind of correlates to where I was. That anxiety actually helped me grow. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm feeling anxious now, then I'm probably likely to be in the next stage of growth. So yeah.
I imagine that's quite typical in like people who are somewhat. I think you potentially got to be wired to be a coach in some respect. You got to have some key attributes that are a prerequisite to a good coach,
Yeah.
or to want to be a coach. But I imagine it comes from the thing of like I've learned something that has helped me. I'd really like to share this with you. Is that the kind of like the mentality you had early on in like coaching?
Always, yeah. I'm the kind of guy that I will, my wife Kayla will tell you that if I read something and I find it insightful, I'm trying to teach it straight away. I'll go into a coaching session, I'll have some understanding of it, and I'll go, oh, this kind of, it works for me, and I feel good for it, and I can see the benefit of it. Let me test it on my clients, and I'll kind of go in and I might mention something, and it will sit with them, and they'll have an insight, or they'll go away and think on it, and I just like to implement straight away, because the more that I do that, the more that I learn. Because I think it's this, you can learn by reading, but once you write it, you learn more. Once you tell someone else, then it sticks. So yeah, if I learn something, or if I find something out, or I find something interesting, I'm going to teach it straight away, just to get some feedback, basically. And sometimes it will flop, but it used to be like that when I was a funeral director for 9 years. So that for me is because of the way I am, quite jovial and quite upbeat. So doing a job like that can be quite challenging, because you're helping people in their often their worst time of their lives. Some people, they're quite happy, weirdly, but so you have to be able to adapt. And sometimes I'd crack a joke to try and pick up the energy in the room. Sometimes it would flop, didn't go so well. So you have to kind of adapt in that moment. Think, oh, crap, I've just told a joke about something, and someone's here talking about someone that someone's died, and you have to come back from that. And that is where I probably learned to express myself and share things very quickly, and then get feedback. If that
I,
makes sense.
I imagine it's in those situations where you've learned something, you've tried out a new technique, and you've discovered something about yourself, and you think, oh, that's really interesting. I'm going to share this, and then you go on a call or with a client, and then you sort of deliver this method, and I can imagine you just like waiting there, going, and
Yeah.
waiting for that moment of like, um, it wouldn't be understanding, but just to see the results. If is there an instant reaction to this particular thing? And I imagine that's like really exciting to just be like, here's a new thing, like go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You share the information. And sometimes it's a bit of an exercise, and then you just see what the reaction is, and then you can gauge whether or not they're going to get any benefit from it. It comes in a couple of ways. So one, it will be like this kind of. I believe an insight has the power to shift your world. So you can come in one way, you experience an insight, and then all of a sudden you see the world a different way. So having an insight, and it will either be wow in that moment, or and then you kind of know that they're probably going to go away and reflect on it and find out something about themselves. But sometimes it is just like that hit. Like you hit them with a hammer, and they've gone, "Wow, I never knew that." So an example was a recent client of mine. We've had one session, but we had a complimentary coaching session to start with, and he was saying that he really wanted to achieve lots of different things in his life, and he had lots of visions and goals. They were big, and he felt he was comfortable at the moment, which is why he wasn't pushing himself, wasn't disciplined, wasn't doing the things that he knows he needs to do. And I said, okay, well, what are the things when you get to what you want to get to? Why do you want that? What's the reason you want to create that? And he said, well, to be comfortable. I said, oh, that's interesting. So at the moment you're comfortable, and you want to do things to then make you what? And he said, well, comfortable. I said, can you see why your brain isn't helping you do the things you need to do to get something you've already got?
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, shit. And in that moment, that was enough for him to be like, oh, well, that's true, actually. So then we shifted. What did he really want? Well, he wanted to have impact. He wanted purpose. And then he started to do the things that helped him, because he wasn't looking for comfort anymore, which he already had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's about just essentially changing the internal language, just changing that so that it resonates a little bit more with like your goals, I guess. But I imagine it's so satisfying to see just like something click.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it was. It's just one of those moments. Sometimes it's silence for like 10 seconds. And you're like, oh. And then they're, especially when I work with men, there's this question of, well, what do we do now? What's next? We want action steps. We want the how-to. Sometimes you can't always have that. It's about sitting with the insight that you've had, because then a day later or a few hours later, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, maybe I'll do this. But instantly, a lot of guys will just say, okay, that's great, but what now? And I have to kind of slow down. And there's a saying from one of my mentors, which is sometimes you've got to slow down to speed up. You've got to just take a moment, relax, and all of a sudden things will come, a bit more clarity. Yeah.
That's really cool. What's the most satisfaction you get from helping your clients? What typically, like, not necessarily the most satisfaction, but what happens more regularly that you're like, yes, I'm making a difference?
I would say I know when I'm making a difference when the friendship starts to build, because initially, we don't really know each other very well, and when they start getting results and you start to build rapport, so they get the results. Obviously, that's satisfying. But when you can have a good conversation with them, but not just on a coaching level, for me, that's really satisfying, because you've built a real connection with someone that could probably last for years, especially as, together. It is just as about my client. It's not about me. But when you work together and you get results, yeah, you build a bond ultimately, and that's really powerful.
I imagine the more you know a client, and the less barriers there are, the more friendly you are with a client, the less barriers, the easier it is to get to results.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, once you can drop that, they just need to be comfortable. I said it recently in a post or a video. That people will say that men don't often share, and I say, well, they don't share because they're not given the space to share. But if you can create that space, and that comes down to, I think, building a friendship or a rapport, then yeah.
And I imagine there's ways to share as well. Everyone's got some level of awkwardness, anxiety, social anxiety, like barriers and things like that. And it's I imagine it's different for everybody. Like some people will be really comfortable in a scenario where you're being made to sort of bear all, and if there's a very specific way of doing that, or if it's something that's a little bit more comfortable. You know, I imagine there's points that you can take to someone, but then there's like you can't go past that point. Like to get the best results, you need to sort of stay in a sweet spot. I
Mm.
imagine knowing someone well enough is massively helpful to sort of know where that space is.
Yeah, where like for example, I was talking to a client yesterday, and we've spoken for a good 4 hours now. If I was to put it in time, we don't know each other as well as like I know you as an example, but we know each other well enough for me to kind of call him out on stuff now, but more directly. So if I'm calling a client out on things that they're saying just because it's BS, if I don't know them very well to start with, I'll be more subtle.
Yeah.
But as I get to know them, I'll be like, well, the reason, like I said to him yesterday, I said, the reason that you are not getting this result is because you're not doing the work. And it sat really well with him. He was like, oh, yeah, he kind of needed that. But I probably wouldn't have said that to him in the first session or two, because it can impact, even unconsciously, just impact the relationship you have with someone. Because like, oh, maybe I can't share because he's going to make me feel like shit, like my parents did, or like my teacher did, or like my old friends did. So yeah, it's about reading the relationship, ultimately, and then
Because yeah, like I was just thinking when you said, like, if you go in early, berate someone for for their actions, and then I went straight to like teacher, like like flashbacks to back, the worst example of a teacher that you had in your school, and then your walls are up then because you just like hated that experience, if you did, and I imagine that would be a really difficult thing to break back down, once you've got almost like lost the trust in some respects.
oh yeah. But once you lose that rapport, it's super hard to get back. But then obviously, the longer you know each other, the easier it is, because you have that kind of friendship. And I like the friendship. A lot of coaches won't like having that relationship with their clients. They prefer it just to client and coach. And I get it. There's benefits to that, and a lot of coaches will do it that way. I just don't like being that way. I like to have a friendship. I like to be able to have a bit of banter if we need to. But it is also about getting results. That's why they pay me, why we work together. But if we're not going to have fun, in my view, what's the point? And if you don't want fun, I'm not the right coach for you.
There's a different coach for that. There's the no fun coach somewhere.
Yeah, I'm the fun coach. Well, ish.
I'm the fun uncle. I really like that. What's motivating people to work with you? And what I mean by that is, like, typically, what are the things that people are looking for when they're looking to work with you, or with coaches in general?
Yeah, for me, when they come to us as further coaching, what they're looking for is someone that is they want to work on their mindset. They want to feel more confident. They want to improve their performance. Maybe they're procrastinating more than they used to. They aren't content. Something is wrong. They feel like it's wrong, but they don't know what it is. So there's a quote that we like to use, and it's they're the best version of their limited self, right? So they may have achieved a really good level of success, and they're feeling good, but they're just, something's not quite right. Maybe in certain areas, like relationships or business, it's just they're not quite hitting or ticking the box. So it is a variation, but I think for the majority of people, they just want to, from what I see, in cheesy sense, reach their potential. They've got more to give. And there's a quote Tony Robbins uses, and it's, if we're not growing, we're not happy. So if people aren't happy, it's likely because they've just stayed stagnant and they're not looking to grow. And then they'll probably ignore it for a long period of time, and then they'll go, you know what, I'm not happy. I wonder why that is. And then they'll start searching, and they'll go through that journey. There'll be maybe months before they contact someone. But when they do, it's normally because they just want to grow in an area of their life. So yeah.
Growth is the big thing, isn't it? In terms of, I think it's like you see it in like gaming. It's like leveling up constantly, like the grind of like leveling up. Add a new thing. I can do a new thing now. I've got this new ability. I've got this new item. I've got this, I've upgraded my armor or something like that, and it like perfectly translates to life. And sometimes you see this kind of thing of like, like be in the moment, like don't be all about goals and leveling up and stuff like that. But I think especially for a lot of men, like that's that's where the fun happens. You know, it's that it's, you know, that's the grind and, you know, the goals where I want to get to and stuff like that. I think once you take that away, personally, like that's where the purpose kind of evaporates. It's kind of keeping that kind of balance of like being present, but also doing something for a future goal. Like, what's your approach to that in terms of managing this kind of like, you know, presence of mind, be in the moment, but also, you know, but also still trying to work towards goals and you know, even for things like materialistic kind of reasons and stuff like that. Do you think much about that?
Well, I think if someone wants to be present, but they've also got things that they want to strive for, it's about being setting those and having clarity on what you want and understanding where they're going and why. That's really important. And then recognizing that if you can be accepting of where you're at, then you likely get to where you want to get to a lot quicker. And acceptance is a form of being present, right? So you're just accepting the moment, you know, this is where I am. And then you actually end up feeling more energetic. And when you feel more energetic or you feel good emotionally, mentally you're strong, physically you're strong, then you work your way towards your goals. So it's coming out of that resistance. If people are not present, it's probably because they don't have as much clarity on their goals as they want, because they're like, well, where am I going? I can't be present because I need to think about where I'm not yet. Whereas if they go, I know I'm going there, this is the direction I want to go in, and I know how, or I've got an idea of how, and I know my why, my core reason, then I can be present knowing that tomorrow, so if I'm with my family, being present tomorrow, I'm at work and I know that what I'm going to do is going to get me closer to my goal. So yeah, I'd say, yeah, hope that answers that.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I always feel guilty about excuse me. I always feel guilty about thinking about like my whole mindset's around planning and growth, you know, and I've always considered myself to be like a project person. On to the next project. Let's continue on this kind of like obsession of this particular project, and it's all I think about. And then when it's done, next thing, constantly. And I've always wondered, like, is that okay? You know what I mean? Am I okay to just be like constantly trying to move on and stuff, or just settle down, chill out, rejig my thoughts and my efforts into something that's not about moving forward. It's about sort of being where I am. But I always come to the conclusion that I quite like it. So why not? Why change it?
Right. Yeah. And I would say that if it's coming from a healthy place, that makes sense. Yeah. So there will be a fair few times where you know, guys or like yourself are trying to achieve these things, not content, always moving on to the next project, but because they don't feel like they're worthy or they're good enough. So they're trying to feel good enough, and that requires them to keep doing these things, do, to then have that part of themselves, probably young them, inside of them, feel good. So they keep achieving. If it's coming from that place, I would say ultimately you're going to get to burnout, and nothing's ever going to be good enough. But if you can understand that if you are, okay, well, is there a limitation there? Or am I trying to do this because I want more experiences? I want to have more connection. I want to succeed more. And I want to continue to grow. That's a different thing. But if it's this, I have to do this because otherwise I'm not good enough, then I say that needs to be worked on and removed ultimately, because it's a limitation. It's like I did a course with a coach. I think he calls himself a coach, but he was saying very much what people do is they set their goals from a limitation or a place of lack. So I need to be in a relationship now because if I'm not, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Or I need to earn X amount of money now, otherwise I'm not going to have enough money. The challenge with that is that it's frantic. I need to do it now. I need to have this now. And he put it as, imagine losing your car keys. What's it like trying to find your car keys? It's just crazy. You've got to leave the house. It's frantic. You're rushing around everywhere. But if you can come from this place of, okay, I want to be in a relationship because it's going to enhance my life. It's going to give me love. It's going to give me connection. I'm looking forward to spending that time with someone that I care for. That's a nice place to come from. It's not frantic. It's kind of, you are exploring, you are seeing what comes. And it's the same for things like money as well. I want to earn more money because I want to have more experiences. I want to go on holiday with my family, not because otherwise I cannot do this.
Yes. Yeah. Or I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
That's lack.
Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. So if you can structure your goals and your, you know, how you try and approach those things in that sort of mindset. It's a little bit more positive, a little bit more healthy, as opposed to just desperation.
Yeah, because if you're desperate, yeah, I mean, people can tell, but also you just don't feel good in yourself. It's not a good energy to have. I need to get there now. Why? Right? You might get there if you just relax.
Mm.
But what it tends to do is when you're in that space of, and the next thing, the next thing, next thing, and you're coming from an unhealthy place, you're kind of shutting yourself off to the opportunities around you because you're so hyper focused on one thing. There could be a door that could open just there that can lead you into another room and open up another opportunity for you. So, yeah, if it's this just calm, come from a healthy place, but that requires work. It requires inner work. You can't just click your fingers and have that done, because there's programming often from a very young age that is basically dictating how you move forward. And often it's unconscious. We won't even know we're doing it.
I'm going to ask you about something which is probably a little bit more personal to me, but I'll try and frame it in a way that's not that personal. Have you ever come across somebody who, let me start that again. So a lot of work-life balance is based around you work to support and feed your sort of family and that time, essentially. Because a lot of people, what they're trying to do is move into working less hours, working less to spend more time with family and things like that. But when I'm typically, like when I'm working, I'm doing it because I want more work. It's almost like this weird thing of like I work to create more work as opposed to like more family time, because I couldn't imagine a life where I spent 7 days a week with my family, but I could kind of imagine spending 7 days a week creating and doing all these amazing, like, the stuff that really, really brings me joy. Not that my family doesn't bring me joy, but I always come across this thing of like, should I be wanting to spend more time with my family and less time working? Because I currently don't, and that's not to say I don't love my family. It's just, I really love creating and working and supporting and building for that family. I'm always in this kind of thing of like, when people say like, on your deathbed, will you be glad that you worked so hard or spent more time with your family? And there's a part of me that's like, I really like working, so I might say yes. But at the same time, am I sacrificing? I'm sacrificing like family time and stuff like that. Am I going to regret that later on in life? Currently, I don't. I enjoy it. I enjoy the limited time that I spend with my family at the weekends and evenings and stuff like that. Should I feel guilty that if I have the opportunity to take half a day off, but I choose to work instead? Is that a bad thing? I always kind of struggle with that. I'm not even sure if that's even a question, but have you come across that before? And what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I suppose my question to you would be, what brings you joy ultimately in life? And it's at the moment, it seems to be you lean towards doing work. You love spending time with your family, but work is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And why is work important to you?
It's fulfilling, and it's satisfying. I like to I like to create things. I think that's some of the best things that I've some of the best feelings I've ever had is when I've either done something specifically or I've created an opportunity for other people to do something, and it's become like a thing that we've created together, and we can sort of look back at it and go, that's amazing. Like, and all the processes leading towards that. That's what brings me like crazy amounts of like joy and enjoyment. So hence why I keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for the next buzz of
And
creativity.
is there a problem with that?
I don't know. Probably not. I guess not. I think what I'm getting at is, should I? There's a bit inside of me that thinks, should I want to spend more time with my family more than doing that thing? Because if I'm completely honest, I don't. Like, not to say that I don't want to spend time with my family, but there's being completely honest with myself, the chemicals or whatever that's going on says creating stuff and building things and doing really good work brings me more joy.
And have you fully accepted that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I feel like there's a part of me that should feel guilty about that.
Well, I would say that you haven't fully accepted that, and that's probably part of the challenge, because twice you've said It's not that or I think maybe 3 times. It's not that I don't want to spend time with them. It's like you kind of justify, oh, I
Mm.
really want to work. And not that I don't like to spend time with my family. Whereas if you fully accepted it, you'd be like, well, I want to do this and I want to spend time with my family. This is the way in which I'm doing it.
Mm.
This is the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what your work is probably just to be fully accepting that is what you want at this moment in time.
Mm.
And then reflect on the word should versus want. Should you do anything? Well, you shouldn't.
No.
What do you want to do? Oh, I want to do this. And then I said it to one of my clients recently is the should versus want. I should stay late at work. For him, it was this. He hasn't got a family. I should do this. I should do that. I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, I don't want to do that. I said, well, what do you want to do then? And he told me what he wanted to do. I said, well, focus on that. And then you'll be wildly surprised that actually the should becomes a want. You end
Mm.
up going, oh, I kind of want to do that now. So when you tick that box, we scratch that itch of, I want to do this work. I want to get creative. I want to bring people together. I want to build a podcast studio, whatever it is. And then spending time with family becomes more of a, I'm in this because
Mm.
I've scratched that itch.
Yes.
Yeah, should versus want is a really big one.
That's an interesting thing. Like, yeah, so you do the things that you need to do, because that's that brings you joy and all that kind of thing. But also, once you've done those, that allows you to then move on to the stuff that you also want to do, which is spend time with your family without thinking about the fact that you could have been doing that thing. You've done it, or you've scratched that itch on that particular day or that point, and set yourself those kinds of. I imagine you could set yourself like limits or budget of time. Like if I finish this, that means that'll allow me to spend this amount of time with my family or something like that. It's not something I've ever done before, but
Well, look what's happened with this podcast studio. It was something you wanted to do.
Mm.
You followed that passion and that kind of drive for it, and now you've got it.
Mm.
And now it's going to allow you to create money from it
Mhm.
and help other businesses because you followed that passion of what do I want to do? If this was a should, you probably wouldn't have, it would have been
No.
a bit more of a graft. But if you would tick the boxes of what you wanted to do, which was maybe spend time with family, maybe go out and play golf, then this becomes, I do want to focus on that.
Mm.
So it's just for me, it really helps. Like, do I want to sit there and I might say, oh, I should send these emails. Like, do I want to do it?
Mm.
No. What do I want to do? I want to go make a cup of tea. I want to go downstairs and just sit and have a couple of biscuits and just relax. And then I do that. And then writing the emails becomes easier because I'm like, oh, okay, well, I want to go and do that now because I've scratched that itch and I feel good for that.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it the whole time. Could have been having that cup of tea. Whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm being drawn away by it. Yeah, so it's just a really big shift for a lot of guys. It's like should versus want. And obviously there are things that you're going to need to do, but even just like I said, the small things, writing the emails, well, I'm going to go and have a cup of tea.
Mm.
Your mindset changes, your energy changes, and that's where you need to be coming from, that emotional state of rather than, oh, I've got to do this. It's, okay, I feel pretty good. I feel like I've got a bit more energy now. I'm going to go and do what I need to do and what I want to do.
Mm. Do you think that there's a point that you have to set perhaps some limits or be aware of yourself that doesn't turn into procrastination?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, you got to be mindful of it. That just becomes, be aware. If you end up, putting on 10 stone and you don't end up going out the
Addicted to
house.
tea and biscuits.
Yeah, addicted to tea and biscuits. You're watching the screens. You're not doing anything that is helping you grow. And yeah, for sure. But the kind of guys that I will work with, like yourself, that's just not a thing because you're aware, you're conscious, you want to grow. And you know that by not doing those things for a prolonged period of time, it just isn't going to work.
No.
But if you can get yourself in the best emotional state as quickly as possible, then you're more likely to do things that are going to help you grow, even if you don't want to do them.
You're still in control, essentially. Just because you set a boundary or a rule or a thing that almost in essence relieve a restriction. You can go and enjoy that thing, but you know that when to stop.
Mm.
You know when to don't turn that into 4 cups of tea and a tin of biscuits.
Mm.
Let's you can those sort of limits on yourself. I probably do need to write those emails now or whatever.
Yeah, and if you don't, then get a coach.
Yeah, coach. They'll remind you to write the email.
They'll help you. Yeah,
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
What are the most, or what are some common themes that you're finding that are holding a lot of men back from your clients? And are you seeing reoccurring things?
Yes, I would say at the moment, communication. the ability to communicate with others confidently. So, and I don't know whether, I'm not sure yet. It just seems to be a theme that I didn't see before COVID, ultimately, where people were in more, so they weren't, having that human interaction with others as much. It was all on a screen. So now we're back to normal life. It's going into environments or meetings with lots of different people around, and they're feeling more anxious. They're feeling low in confidence, stumbling over their words. I've had a good few clients talk about going red just when someone walks up to them randomly in Tesco's, because they're like, "Ooh," they don't know how to deal with it. So yeah, it's more about communication and being a strong leader, and being able to just be confident in whatever they're saying. Yeah, seeing that a lot at the moment.
Communication. You ever been in that situation where you see someone in the street that you know and you're relatively friendly with, but you avoid them on purpose because you don't want to talk to them?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm an introvert at heart.
Is that what it is? Just introversion, essentially?
For me, yeah. I like to communicate with people, but there are certain people that I prefer to communicate with, like yourself. And if I don't feel too good, or I'm tired, or it's been, do I really want to be chatting to someone in Tesco's for 20 minutes? Not really. So
No.
I'll just kind of, oh, they're there. I'll scoot off this way. But actually, on that topic, I used to, when I was talking to one of my clients, he's in the military. He looks after Marines. So I'm not sure exactly his position, but he's a team leader, I believe, looking after kind of a bunch of Marines. And at the moment, they're in, I think you said, in Norway, like minus 21 degree, just freezing cold.
Bonkers.
Yeah. And I think 3 of them got like frost nip, and then 1 of them got frostbite. So they've been sent home. It's just,
what's frost nip?
yeah,
Nothing to do with
I didn't
nipples.
realize what it was, but ultimately I think it's the thing before frostbite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you get nipped,
Okay.
and then you get bitten.
That makes sense. Yeah. I went straight to nipple. I went like frost nip. Like it's like I don't know.
I mean, it might be.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
it could be a frozen nipple.
You need to cover your nipples up.
Yeah. But yeah, so he's a really great guy, and obviously he leads Marines. So it's a powerful role he's in, a very important role. But he's finding himself any hint of conflict, and he'll just go bright red.
Really?
Which will impact, how we feel, and then he'll start thinking about the feeling that he's having, and the fact he's going red, and then all of a sudden he's stumbling over his words and stuff. So, and I told him a story. Is when I was very anxious, I couldn't go into Tesco's. If someone came up to me, it would just be the most awful experience. I sweat, I go red, like a mumbling mess. And one of the things I told him to do, obviously there's a reason as to why he's experiencing that. And there was a reason why I was experiencing what I was experiencing. For me, it was this feeling of not being safe. So anything that surprised me would send me into like this fight or flight. And it's similar for him. We're working through that at the moment, but like a real actionable in the moment step for him to help with going red, especially in like the coffee shops or the general life. If you see someone just that maybe might come up and talk, go to them. Take control, be the leader in the situation, because then you're not being surprised, and that's not triggering that fight or flight or that safety within you. So he started to do that in a coffee shop. He saw someone, instead of them surprising him, he'd go up to them and say, "Hey, how's it going?" And it calmed him. He feels more in control, and therefore he's not going red. And then he's providing himself with evidence to say that I can deal with this, as well as doing the deeper level inner work as well. Way off tangent there.
No, that was really good. I was just like, I was about to say like AI robots. Make sure you put that one in the social cuts, because that's a really cool story.
Yeah.
Like, and that's something that's actionable for anybody. Like that thing of like, you see someone sort of walking down the street and you think like, I've got to the point now where I think as you get a bit older, perhaps you get a bit more confident depending on the situation. But I'm also a little bit more comfortable with the things that I'm aware of myself, i.e. like, I don't know whether I'm just grumpy, but I just if I see someone like walking down the street, unless it's like one of my best mates or someone that I love talking to, if it's just like an acquaintance, or like an old client or something like that, and they spot me, and I say, "Hello, how you doing?" But I never stop moving. I'm like being, I'm like, yeah, good, thanks. Yeah, how about you? Yeah, good to see you. Like, and that's literally like that. Like, that's it. And I've had people literally stop in the street to be like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "Good, thanks. Anyway, catch you later." You know, I'm like sort of done.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that makes me look like an arse, but
No.
um,
I'm similar though. I must admit. In my funeral directing days, I used to get stopped a lot.
oh god.
Yeah.
And I bet I can't imagine hardly any of those conversations were particularly positive.
Not really. How are you? I'm like, oh shit. I understand.
Yeah.
You don't feel good, but I'm walking down the street
Yeah.
trying to get my coffee or my tea or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, and I remember maybe there was this. I used to when I was younger, because I went into that role when I was like 20.
Mhm.
So you're young and I was quite like open, and I used to go in and like hug people, get to know them. You build a relationship similar to coaching, and they really like you at the end of it. And you'd go in and you'd hug like the old ladies and stuff like that, and they used to love it.
Mhm.
And then they started to like give me a kiss on the cheek, and then that used to freak me out a little bit, and it was just too much.
Yeah.
So, and then I started to put a bit of distance.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You just like, I'll pull it back.
Yeah, and now, I mean, I like to hug people that I know and I like, but any randomers, it's kind of like,
Mm. I got told off by my team because I would hug like people who I didn't know at all. And like one of the instances, like I would hug people who came for an interview. Like at the end of the interview, I would like give them a hug because we'd had like a really in-depth conversation. And I'm quite, in certain circumstances, I'm quite open and we talked about this person's life and all these kinds of different things, and we had a really good rapport and stuff like that. But I hug clients and everybody, and my team were like, "You need to not do that anymore, probably."
probably.
And I tried to, and then I'm just like, do you know what? Fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a hugger.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And that's I think that if people can't deal with that, whatever. We haven't got HR anyway, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. I am You're speaking to HR. Give me a hug.
Wait till you get the old ladies give you a kiss, and it's like really kind of close.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just a little bit much. I was just like, this is nice and everything, and then once they, there was a couple of vicars that would, really go in for the kiss, and once they got to know you, they as soon as they make a beeline for you, for me, I should say, not you, but me, and I'd be like, oh shit, nice people.
Yeah.
I just don't want a kiss from you.
No.
You know?
I kissed one of our team members by accident once, Molly, the photographer. I was like I felt like when you hug your mum and give her a kiss on the cheek or something like, or like your nan or something like that. That's a standard practice for me. End of the night, just like I would be on this big long shoot, and I gave her a hug and then just give her a peck on the cheek. I was like, sorry about that. I just kind of went into a little zone there. You've never seen Molly go so red. I was like, yeah, I'm glad we've not got HR.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent.
But yeah, I won't change. Just try and be less lechy.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Standard.
If you could only address one mindset change in each client, what would it be? So let's assume that they all have this same problem. I imagine all of your clients have different things that they come to you, but let's say if there was a common theme and you could just change one thing in every single client for the benefit, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. So what is in the challenge they're experiencing?
Perhaps it's just like, how this, we talked about the fact that it's come from a need to a want. I would class that as like a mindset change. I guess it's technically a language change. But, if there was one like really foundational thing that a lot of people struggle with, that you can just kind of go like, here's my gift to you. Everybody has this mindset change now. And that would be of massive benefit to most people.
Great question. What comes up initially is acceptance, and just helping. If I could just give like someone a drink and say, drink that, and they would have more awareness and acceptance of the way things are. I think that would help so many people, because most of the time, if we're stressed or we're anxious, not feeling so good, lacking confidence, is because we're creating something that hasn't actually happened yet. or we're just not okay with the way things are. No, I'm not okay with the fact that the microphone isn't picking up my voice in the way that I want. No, it's just, it creates resistance, it creates stress. It's a little bit annoying, and you can work through that, but it is what it is, and you can do the things to help you. You don't want to stay just in acceptance. You want to grow as well. So what can I do and what can I learn? But if people could just be okay more with the situation they're in, I think they would actually find themselves moving forward a lot quicker. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it'd save a lot of energy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because it's resistance. It's like, oh, I'm not okay with the fact that I haven't got enough money in my bank. What are you going to do? Like, it is what you start with. It is what it is, and then you can start to move on with, well, what can I do to improve that, rather than, oh, it's just shit, and then just lean into that resistance and just not feel very good in yourself, because it just creates more stress, more pressure, more discontent, unhappiness. Whereas why live there? And that becomes a choice. And if you can give someone that acceptance, they go, oh yeah, even just in that moment, it is what it is. I can't do much about that at the moment. Straight away, you feel differently. And when you feel different, you're more likely to move forward in the way that you want. So yeah, I'd probably say that.
Acceptance. Free up your mind for moving forward. And, I guess there's a limit to, like, rather than just like, if you want to, there's the difference to accepting things and not changing them, or accepting things and growing.
Yeah. You don't want to stay in, for me, staying in acceptance isn't where I want to be. I want to be okay with the way things are, because I can't do anything about it in that moment, in that present moment. I can't just click my fingers and it not be that way. And like, I'm here in this moment right now. If something didn't go the way that I wanted, why stress about the fact that it's happened? Like, I need to be okay with the way it is. And then I can say, okay, well, what can I learn from that so that it doesn't happen again in the future? Or whatever it is I need to do to work through it. And then I can grow. But, a lot of people will be in acceptance and they'll lead a pretty good life, but they probably won't be growing at the rate I want to grow. They're just kind of, it is what it is. Cool.
So growth starts at acceptance then, in that respect. You can be, initially you accept what you've got, and then from there you can grow, as opposed to worrying about what you've got, and the growth might be slower.
Yeah. If you ask yourself the right questions. There's a statement which is, questions steer the mind. Yeah, so if we ask ourselves really good questions, we can get really good answers most of the time. But so many people will ask themselves terrible questions. Like, oh, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why am I so unconfident? Why am I anxious? Like, what's the reason for it? They are questions that are going to hinder you. They're going to make you feel like crap. Whereas if you can ask questions like, well, what can I do to grow and learn from this experience? How can I move forward past this anxiety? How can I learn to develop my confidence? Then you're going to start to find good answers. And then when you have those, you can start to take action steps.
That's gold. That's gold, Scott. Look at this, killing it. I've only got 27 more questions. In fact, I'm going to do something gross. Excuse me.
It's cool. Not going to pass it to me.
No. Yeah. You'll be like, okay, keep this in the bin. Yeah. Can you share a particular success story that sticks in your mind in your career of coaching, like something that you just like particularly proud of?
From one of my clients?
Yeah. Without naming names and stuff, obviously.
Yeah. So one that's happened really recently, actually, is, I'll start. Hang on. Yeah, really good result. What was the question?
If you could, can you share a particularly a success story that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah. So a big success story more recently for one of my clients is, so he came to me wanting to build his confidence and develop his mindset, as a lot of guys do. Procrastinate. Just, I think if I could put it into sentences, he just wasn't happy with the way things were for him.
Yes.
He was in a job. It was okay. He was reasonably happy, but there wasn't really any growth opportunity for him. He wanted to kind of just feel better in himself. So I said, look, the focus needs to be on you, because you may have heard this before, but you go onto an aeroplane and they say, in the event of emergency, a mask will drop down. What do they ask you to do?
You've got to do yours first before looking after everybody else.
Yeah, so you put your mask on first, and then you can help other people. I said, look, so you're thinking a lot of his mindset was thinking about other people around him. I said, let's just focus on you and look after you and then see what happens around you. So we did lots of different bits and pieces, a lot of discovery for him. We helped him, I helped him be more confident and challenge things in the moment. And therefore his confidence grew. And because his confidence grew, he started to be more assertive and ask more questions. Now, he had a manager who was, apparently when she would give information, she wasn't very clear. Now, in the past, all the members of staff would be like, just get on with it. They wouldn't question her, wouldn't ask more questions, or wouldn't probe to get more information, but be expected to do the job anyway. So his confidence started to grow and he became more assertive, and then he started to ask questions in the meetings to say, not in a rude way, just can you clarify it more for me? That's just a sign of being more confident in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd started to do that for a couple of weeks. She didn't like it very much. There was another member of staff that kind of joined him as well, just to get more clarity. And then they made a couple of redundancies. And the two people they made redundant one was him, and it was another girl.
Oh God!
So it's a bit of a coincidence that
Yeah.
the two people that were starting to be more assertive, the manager didn't like it, and they made redundant. So he questioned it, and he ended up getting more money, which for me that says that they were being a bit dodgy. But anyway, so because we were working on his mindset, anyone that would normally get made redundant, they would probably just feel very, very low, stressed, and not know what to do with themselves. But because we were working together, we really developed himself. He stayed quite high up. I call it kind of a growth phase. You kind of pick up very quickly, and then you kind of level out. He didn't dip. He stayed at that solid level. And he made a connection, which was really great. It was an old connection of him, so he rebuilt that connection up. And this guy said, hey, there might be a job going for you, which was awesome. And he said, it's this role and this amount of money. And he said, oh, okay, great. That sounds good. And then he had a meeting with the director, and he said, it's this role and this amount of money. It wasn't the role that he was told, and it wasn't the amount of money. It was less, and it was less. The position wasn't where he wanted to be. So I sat with him and I said, well, what do you want? And he said, oh, I want this position, like senior, blah, blah, blah. And I want £65,000 per year. And I said, great, well, set your intention, like set your expectations. Say this is what you want. And he did. And they said, okay, we'll come back to you. Next day, he came back, said, this is the role that you want. Here you go. And instead of 65, how about 70? And there you go.
They gave him more money.
Gave him more money because he was confident, he was assertive, he knew what he had to offer. But for me, I think the most powerful thing is that as he started to change his energy, as he started to change himself, his mindset, his emotional state, he began to become more confident, and he had to get rid of the old. That job he was in was not serving him. It wasn't allowing him to grow in the way they wanted. And it kind of, if you want to call it life, just presented him with redundancy. Now, a lot of people would, like I said, fall to shit. But for him, he was like, no, okay, there's something here. I'm going to continue on this journey. And then, he ended up getting a better job, more money. It was a work from home, which he was quite happy with. And yeah, so that was a success story.
That's mint.
That's
so cool. Like, and like you said, typically, in those situations where you come across that hardship, it's, like you'd expect at least a little bit of a dip, if not like a full-on plateau, not plateau, plunge. But keeping that level-headedness and that sort of that energy has resulted in something way better. They say that about energy, don't they? And the energy attracts energy, and having that kind of having a particular mindset, a particular vibe, will attract others. In that, are we all right? By the way, recording and stuff. Yeah, my headset's hurting. Do we need to get some XL headphones? They were the biggest ones I could find. No overheating or anything like that on the cameras. All recording still. Yeah. Cool. That's the first time.
It's the energy.
It's the energy. Energy attracts energy. A few more.
Cool.
Because these are going really, really well. I've kind of asked all the same questions, like just with different words, which is not good.
Was there anything you could think of? Did we?
Are these good as mine, Kayla?
No, these are great. These are really cool. I think we should just stick with what Dan's got going on.
I've not got much more really, and I've accidentally sort of formed several questions that were just with slightly different answers. No, kind of done that. Here's an interesting one. How am I sounding, by the way, Kieran? Better or worse, or all right?
The lead on to with Mike's like similar on both there.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know what's changed.
What are you doing, mate? Is it you?
I don't think
You're doing it, I think.
I haven't changed anything since you swapped. But it sounds like better.
Sounds all right. Mm,
Maybe it's because we're talking louder.
yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like if I turn the mic this way, which is kind of how you, this fucking thing. Kind of how you're supposed to have mics is like here to the side. But then what I find is there's more of a pickup then. But then it's me that's doing it. It's my mic, you know what I mean? Like everyone's suffering from my voice, but I'm trying to. They're all doing all the right stuff, or even like they're doing like what I would consider to be the wrong stuff, and they still sound great. And I'm doing all the right techniques, like talking this close and not resonating from my voice for the room, and I still screw up. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll figure that out in post as part of the fun of it. I got these people ringing me. What's going on? Do you mind if I just quickly?
Yeah, go
This
for it.
person ring me like 3 times. Check him out later. Have you ever had resistance from a client? Like, have you ever had been in a situation where you've wanted to approach things in a certain way, and you've just been met with barriers and walls, and did you come through those?
Yeah, for sure. More recently, actually, very, very rarely do I experience a challenge like I've had. I'll explain in a moment. Yeah, most of the time, I'd say 95% of the time, clients and I get along really well, and they get great results, and they're really happy. But recently there was one client, and he was French. I think nice enough guy. He's just
Considering he was French.
Yeah. You know what I mean. We won't put that
and we all know what you mean. Kieran,
Yeah.
just keep your eye on sort of the. Oh my God, what is it with
It's
this? It's this little weird
Yeah.
thing here, isn't it? It's so annoying. How about this? I'll try a new technique. Sorry, I'm gonna. We can pick it up from French.
Oh,
That look weird. Yeah. Bit in my face. See what it sounds like though, because just because it's not like angled, if you know what I mean. Does it make a difference? It shouldn't do, because it's I keep forgetting it's not my mic that's the problem. It's everybody else. Anyway, I'll go back to normal. So have you come across any speeches about when it comes to resistance? What have you experienced?
Yeah, so it was a gentleman, like I said, 95% of the time, I mean, 1 in probably 100. And that's not ego, that's just confidence. And I feel like I build relationships with my clients really quickly. I obviously put a lot of effort into it. It's not, you can't just click your fingers and all of a sudden build rapport with someone. But yeah, there was a guy recently who was from France. He was in the UK, but I think I went into it probably, maybe it was a little bit of a, I don't know, from my perspective. I think he set his expectations really high. So his expectations of what he was going to get, rather than necessarily the result, what he was going to get throughout the time we spent together.
What his experience?
Yeah. So it was how can I explain it? Seriously, I was the wrong coach for him, because he was looking for, tiny, minute details, like every step of the way. So, structure like you've never seen structure before, and I probably didn't set the expectation correctly in the first instance, because I kind of had an inkling that it wasn't going to work well, and yet I still proceeded to say, yes, we should work together. So
We've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah.
We've all sort of had the warning bells sort of ring, but you sort of go, see, there's how this plays out.
yeah. And Kayla, my wife, she also said, you sure? And I was like, wow, I feel like we'll make it work. And she gave me a kick in that night, which was a bit rough. I'm joking. But yeah, so, he really wanted things in a very, very structured way. He had like metrics he wanted to hit. He was using words like metrics and all of this kind of stuff. And he didn't go into that much detail when we first spoke, but yeah, that was after about 2 sessions, I felt the rapport dropped. And I ended up just giving him a refund in the end. I just said, look, no, it's just not going to work. And he was okay with that. It was a bit of an arse, but
yeah, you got to cut your losses, haven't you?
yeah, it was dumb.
But I imagine the way that you put yourself out to the world and to like on social media and stuff like that, it's gonna attract a particular kind of person anyway, isn't it? I think that's the beautiful thing about personal brand and social media, and connecting with an audience is they get a flavor of who you are, what you do, what you're interested in, how you communicate ahead of booking a call, which is, I think, crucial. I can't imagine many people go on to successfully just go onto a website without first knowing, who the person is, their interests, their background, how they communicate and stuff like that. So I can imagine that more often than not, there's no barriers. It's they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, spot on actually. But that also with social media, it's been a challenge for me. I must admit, I'm fully authentic in myself when I speak to my clients. It's just who I am, and if it doesn't align with them, it's a good thing. Okay, cool. I'm not the right person for you, but by allowing myself to be authentic and be me, it's great because we build that strong relationship. Like I say, friendship in many ways. But social media, I always kind of had that challenge. I feel like I wasn't working on it properly now, able to be authentically me. So I'm hoping that the more that I can lean into that on social media, the more it will benefit the business. And I remember seeing one coach, and he used to drive me around the bend. I used to look at his stuff, and he would just drive me mad. I'd be like, "You're an idiot." Like, why? But then I thought, "Hey, Scott, right, come on, mindset, personal development. You can't let someone trigger you. Like, what's going on?"
Yes.
So I looked into it, and I was like, "Well, okay, let's do some inner work, Scott. What is it that he triggers you about him?" And I looked into it, and ultimately, I started to understand that the reason I was triggered by him is because he was being his authentic self, and I wasn't being my authentic self.
Yeah.
So it's like a mirror. I was like, God, yeah, crikey. So it was annoying me that I wasn't able to do what he was able to do. And when I worked on that, I was like, okay, wow. So the reason I'm triggered by him is because he's being authentic and I'm not. I was then able to just go, okay, well, let's work on being more authentic then.
Yeah.
And then I really like him.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. I actually invested in one of his courses. I went to it. I thought you were a spot on guy. So this is what happens when you have this disconnect. If you're triggered by something, it's mostly because you've got to work on something within you. It's not the actual thing or the person or the experience that's the problem.
No.
It's something that we've got going on that we need to solve. And when we solve that, that just kind of magically disappears in many ways. Like people will say, I'm not happy with my job, I'm not happy with the business. They'll work on themselves. It's the best job ever.
Yeah.
Business is succeeding. It's great. So yeah, it's interesting, that one.
Mindset.
It's all mindset. Yeah.
What was that word we were saying earlier? Just one word.
One word.
It was like a word that we were saying. I can't remember what it was now. It was like the buzzword of the day. I completely forgot. Anyway.
Do you remember the French guy? He'd send me voice notes. Scott is and I really wanted to talk. It was like really like I couldn't understand him. He sent me a voice note like 3 minutes long, like basically talking like that.
Yeah.
And not a clue what he was saying.
I get a bit weird. I get weird about voice notes these days. Like I used to use them quite a lot. Me and my mates used to would just because we'd always be on the go, sending voice notes to each other, and depending on the kind of people the person that you are. But I used to have a cleaner here, and she used to send me voice notes, and they'd be like 2 minutes long. And it's just her in a car, like with a really thick Stokey accent, just waffling on. Like I've asked you a really simple question that really only needed like 3 word answers.
Yeah.
It was like, and it was pretty much just like ask Kate or something like that. And she sent me, and they'd be like 2 voice notes like back to back, and I'm like, I ain't got time to, and I'm not in a situation where I can listen to you shouting at me like through your phone, your car speakers or whatever. Like send me a text.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But then at the same time, I've been guilty of that. But I'm a bit weird about voice notes these days, unless it's a specific reason. I think you've got to be familiar with each other. I don't really like voice notes from randoms, like our old cleaner. She's
But you
gone.
hug him.
She's gone now. Yeah, I'll hug my cleaner. But now I really like the fact that you can do like the microphone on to like voice to text. Love that.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say about speeding it up, but yeah.
No, like when I send a message to you. Unfortunately, because if you don't know exactly what you're going to say, it brings up your ums and your ahs and stuff like that. But you just have a little button there on the bottom right.
Oh yeah.
But hi Scott, really enjoying the recording today. Thanks for coming along. Straight to text.
Oh, wicked.
You know what I mean?
That's so cool. I never knew that.
But it picked up the but hi Scott, and it's still recording and it's freaking out. And I don't know how to stop it. But yeah, I love that because a lot of the time people text me in like the car. It's something that they kind of need an answer straight away.
I like it.
Press the little button, comes through, press go. But sometimes I'll say, just to let you know, I'm recording this via the dictator. So if it sounds random, I haven't got time to like edit this because I'm driving. That's kind of cool. How are we doing, Keelan, time wise and stuff like that?
It's been an hour, is it? Crikey.
I know it's mad, isn't it? On this one. Yeah. Okay. Is it plugged in? This thing shouldn't be dying then, should it?
Unless the battery in the actual VMO's dying.
Then what time have you guys got to go?
I don't know. What time is it? I haven't got my phone.
Yeah, not till maybe 4ish.
We've got a babysitter for Mia. So
Yeah.
how's it going, Kay? Is it coming across all right?
Yeah, look, it's so good.
Is it?
I love it.
Yeah.
Simon's not
Yeah,
plugged
I'm
in
like,
though.
it's really hard to keep quiet.
Do you reckon we've got some good content?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's Simon's-
Really good.
Good answers.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's plugged in, but there's no battery.
Like what?
We just swap the batteries.
Yeah. Nah, fuck it, just leave it. Just see how it goes.
Do you think it's gone well so far?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. There's definitely there's some gold from this.
Do you reckon some good content? Awesome.
All the rubbish that I say will have to get cut out.
Who? Dan. Yeah.
Funny guy.
Love it.
I think that's okay to do. It's a
Yeah.
live setting, isn't it? You know.
It's cool.
Maybe. What about this? What about like if you were asked Scott some questions like if someone was experiencing this, what would you say? Like those, then you're offering kind of like your insights and tips that
Insight.
might actually help people in their life.
Is there any particular like situations that you've like come across recently that have been like, oh, actually, this is really fresh in my mind. Like this thing happened to this particular person, and we can talk about it.
Still look through some of the inquiries that we get.
All right.
And it's like, calm down.
You guys all right? I feel like it's. Have you guys had lunch or anything like that?
No, we had a
We could eat
quick.
late though when we got
Are you hungry?
Are you? I'll have food after this, but I'll like a quick snack before this, and if we've got time to do the live coaching thing, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I think that'd be really interesting, even if you don't like show the whole thing, but just like here's a little thing from this live coaching. As long as we don't go into like too in depth personal stuff.
Yeah.
It never really is like that, is it? Not necessarily. While you're looking, Kayla, I can say. No, I'm done. I don't want to ask any of those questions because they're kind of crap compared to what we've already asked.
So one of them here is I always doubt my abilities in life. People always tell me I'm better than I people always tell me I'm better than I think I am at my job, and I always doubt myself.
Who's that? just says Chris on it.
No, Wrigglesworth.
Oh, I didn't actually speak to him, did I, in the end?
No.
No.
Cool name though.
Yeah, that is a
Really cool name. Wrigglesworth. Mr. Wrigglesworth. That's like a teddy bear.
Not really one.
Yeah, yeah.
So say that again.
So I always doubt my abilities in life. People always tell me I'm better than I think I am at my job, and I always doubt myself that I'm not good enough.
What did I say to
So
this guy?
externally, people are saying, "Oh, you're so good at that," but he just can't feel it inside. He feels like he's not good enough, and he doubts himself. And he's trying to overcome that.
So what do you say to these people who they can't take a compliment? The like in complete, almost like imposter syndrome, doubt about their abilities and their experience and their skill set. Like, how do you overcome like those kinds of internal mental blocks? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, there's no easy answer to it. It's not like you can just click your fingers and say, okay, yeah, I accept a compliment well now. It's about understanding what's the reason for not wanting to accept that compliment. Is it this fear of failing? Ultimately, I think a lot of people is if they accept this compliment and then they don't meet that, then in the future, then they're going to fail, and that's going to make them feel not so good. So it's about, I think, doing a little bit of inner work and recognizing your limitations, such as whether you feel good enough, whether you don't feel like you deserve X, Y, and Z. Why would anyone that doesn't feel deserving accept a compliment? It's like, oh, that doesn't feel comfortable for me, so I'm just going to brush it off. So yeah, doing and understanding, what's the driving force for you not accepting that compliment, and then also recognizing the language you use. So am I telling myself that I don't deserve this compliment? Am I telling myself that I'm not good enough? Am I telling myself that these people are just saying it to be nice? Because it's limiting language. If someone compliments you, someone compliments you.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Take it. And there's something that I like to do with certain clients, and that is I get them to write down 50 benefits that people get just from knowing and working with them. So it could just be knowing them or knowing and working with them. And they have to sit down and write 50 down. And when you start to recognize these are the benefits that people get from knowing me, and it comes from you rather than asking other people, I'm kind and compassionate, all of that kind of stuff will be the natural go-to, because that's what we think of straight away. I can listen to people, I've got a good ear. But if you can get into the kind of the nitty-gritty and think, okay, well, like you like golf. Well, some people might say, well, how's that a benefit to anyone? Well, your mates might not like golf, and they come across someone that does, that's a benefit to them. They can go, oh, wow, this person's great. So yeah, I like to understand what is the reason as to why they are not accepting compliments, because it's always not accepting compliments is the result, not the actual problem. And then kind of give an in the moment tip to help them understand what they actually give to people. So then when someone does give them that compliment, they already know it. Cool, that's nice of you to say, but I already know. They don't need to say that to them, but they kind of already know that.
I would say that to them.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd be
thanks,
like, you're a really good boss. I'd be like, I know.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I love that.
Unfortunately, no one's ever said that, but if they did, have you?
Yeah.
I don't think you have.
Go on, it's
You don't say it often enough then.
When you talk to us about, working here, we're always like, you and Kate really, really nice to us.
You never say anything about Kate.
There we go. So I remember Kayla and I, we were just sorting a few things out. It was probably maybe 6 months ago. We get in bed, we were just sorting a few things out. I think there was maybe a little bit of disagreement. We needed to different viewpoints, and we worked through it. And then Kayla said, "You know what?" I was like, "What?" She went, "You're a really great guy, And I went, "Do you know what I just said in my head?" She went, "What?" I said, "I know." And she hit me. But
I love that. I love that.
But it is.
I agree.
You've got to really start. If you're gonna, be okay. If you want to be okay with accepting compliments from other people, you've got to give yourself compliments. So I'm always giving myself a big up. And it's not ego. It's just knowing the benefit that I get and how I feel just from saying to myself, I'm awesome. And I work hard and I grow and I develop and I'm on a journey and I can't wait to see what's next. Like, what's the problem with that? And then when someone does say, "Oh, that was great. Oh, thank you so much. You're really good at what you do." I'm like, "Thank you. I know."
Yeah, internally
I know.
Yeah.
But I put a lot of fucking work into getting to that point. So you've got to, it's all about language for me. Yes, you've got to understand the reason why you're not okay with something. It's not, you're not happy with it. because that will be the driving force. And if you can knock that out, then it has a ripple effect. And then it's the language that we use to making sure we're giving ourselves, we're topping up our own cup rather than coming from other people. And also, like I said, a really helpful tip is to take note of 50 benefits that people get from knowing you, but you have to do it. And when you look at that and you read it, you go, oh yeah, I am.
It's pretty cool.
I'm cool. I'm a good guy. Yeah.
I might get Keelan to write 50 things that are a benefit for him knowing me.
Yes, I would agree. It sounds like it.
it's a really good.
We'll do it for each other.
Yeah.
So fun.
No, I'm not bothered about doing anything like that, Kayla. I'm too busy.
There'll be an email for work.
Yeah.
It's
Hey
right.
guys, just a quick one. Do you write 50 things that you like about me?
Oh my god, they'll be like, stop working with this code. Making us do stuff.
Was there anything else?
What about we get a lot of guys who they're really inconsistent with how they feel. So they'll wake up one day, feel good, wake up the next day, feel crap, and they can't switch quickly. They can't change their state of being and the way they feel. So if they wake up crap, they feed into the crap with the negative talk and their actions that they take, and then the whole day's crap when they don't know how to switch it around very quickly. And then when they wake up good, they don't know why, so they can't like regenerate that feeling again the next day. It's all just like life is at their mercy, or they're at the mercy of life, and they're not in control. So like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel today. I might feel crap, or like they're just not in control of themselves, but they want to be.
I can resonate with that massively, actually. If
They're
you
up
so,
and down.
so if you're we all have good days and bad days, and I imagine a lot of that can be due to a lot of different circumstances. But how do you have you come across this where people have a situation where for whatever reason they get up in the morning and they're just not on top form, they're depressed or grumpy or short, but then on the next day they could be super energetic, happy, singing in the morning, like how do you, I don't know what I'm trying to ask, but how do you monitor that and sort of sustain something that's a little bit more positive?
Yeah, I'd get them to start to just raise their awareness of thought, because the way that,
Sure,
yeah.
carry on. Can you say, like, if you wake up in the morning and you feel crap, then go into what you're going to say.
Okay, what was I
Then
saying?
it'll be like a natural hook.
What was I saying?
Like, if you wake up in the morning and you feel crap.
Yeah, and then what did I say?
Monitoring thoughts.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone wakes up in the morning and they feel crap, one thing that I would most definitely get them to do is be aware of the thoughts that they're having. So if you think these kind of little subtle limiting negative thoughts that we have in the day, it's like being poked with a stick, right? And you've got a kid following you around poking you with a stick, and you're trying to be patient with the kid because it's a kid, and you don't really acknowledge it. You just kind of just brush it off. But you get to the end of the day and you've been poked with a stick like 200 times. Like, you're tired, you're not feeling good, and you're likely going to wake up the next day and you're not going to feel so good because you've just not dealt with anything. So if we can be aware of our thoughts in some capacity, whether it's write them down or just improve your awareness to actually catch them in the moment, then you can deal with them in that moment. And then you don't get to the end of the day, feel like you've been poked with a stick 200 times. You've got the stick, you've thrown it away, and you've gone, look, don't bet him. It's not very good parenting. It's probably not the best example. But yeah, it's about catching those thoughts and challenging them in the moment. The small ones, like walking down the street and someone looks at you funny, instead of telling yourself, oh, that person, maybe I looked weird. They didn't like me. Maybe my hair was strange and I look odd. Like, those little things, like, they're going to add up if you don't deal with them, because it has an emotional charge to it. So if we can catch those thoughts, challenge them very, very quickly and briefly, then we don't get to the end of the day feeling like shit, and therefore more likely to wake up in the morning feeling good. And that's why I would probably say that most people wake up feeling differently.
It's like a byproduct of lots of smaller things that have happened that you perhaps weren't as noticeable. It's not like that one defining thing of like this one person said this one thing to me that's completely set me off. It's actually been a cascade of other things happening that perhaps there is some sort of trigger, but it's attributing lots of little negative thoughts.
Definitely, yeah. It's a build up. You're just filling your cup with negative thoughts to get to the end of the day. If you don't deal with them, they're just going to hang around unless you kind of train yourself to deal with them. And then if you one of the best things that I do when I wake up in the morning, and it's so simple, but as soon as I open my eyes, I say, today's going to be a great day.
Mm.
And it's so simple, but it's the first thing that I tell myself. Today's going to be a great day. And I often say to my clients, I sometimes say it through gritted teeth, like, today's going to be a great day. Because I don't really, sometimes I'm like, oh, is it going to be? But I'm like, no, I'm going to say today's going to be a great day. And then for me, I have just a couple of things that I do in the morning that I know help me, non-negotiables, I call them. And they just set me up, and I can do it in 30 minutes. I can do it in 10 minutes, doesn't matter. But I know that when I do those things, I feel better. And it helps my mood and therefore the rest of my day. So today's going to be a great day. Manage my thoughts, have a couple of non-negotiables, and recognize, and I heard this, I really liked it. We are going to experience emotions that don't serve us. It's the way it is. Sadness, frustration, anger. We're also going to experience happiness, love, connection, all of those different emotions that we will have. But it's about not living in the negative. We visit. It's like an annoying family member. You don't go around and live there if you don't really want to be there. You just go for a cup of tea and you leave. So if you experience frustration or sadness or anger, you don't have to live there. Okay, you visited. Acceptance, and then move on. And then it's the same with, you want to kind of live in the positive emotions more clearly. But yeah.
That's really profound. You mentioned about like your, in some respects, kind of your morning routine, what the things that you do to set yourself up for the day. Do you have a particular thought that goes through your mind, or something that you sort of practice as you're going to sleep? So I'm not talking about like your evening like routine. When your head hits the pillow and you're ready to sleep, but you're not, you're still fully conscious. Do you have certain things that you think about typically that are either serving you or just that just happen?
Yeah, great. So I actually do a journal at the end of the day. It takes me 3 to 5 minutes. Really, really simple. It's like 4 or 5 questions. I reflect on my wins, which is normally just 3. And then I actually acknowledge whether I was aware of my thoughts that day, because I need to be in that constant reminder. And then once the light goes off, I kind of lie there and I think maybe 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for, 2 or 3 things that went well. And I just kind of drift off. But I am always trying to lean into that kind of positivity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, that toxic positivity. I'm not like everything has to be positive. I'm well aware of the challenges, trust me. But at the same time, I recognize the importance of feeling good.
Yes.
And I want to live that more. So I do what I need to do to make sure that I'm in that space. Because if I don't, kind of I'm reactive to the world around me, and the world around me, I'm not in control of.
Is there? Do you have any opinion on when you go to sleep and your lights are off, eyes are closed, you're not quite asleep yet? Perhaps it takes you 10, 15 minutes to drift off. What's your opinion on thinking about like the next day? Do you ever sort of like practice that? Would you recommend that kind of thing? It's just something that I typically have sort of defaulted to.
Mm-hmm.
Is almost like pre-planning the next day, but like in quite a positive way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you got to do what works for you. Some people won't be able to do that. For me, I probably wouldn't be able to do that, because I'd start to overthink and go, oh yeah, but then I've got to do this and this and this, and I'd probably go down that route of, oh, maybe I should just do that now, and it wouldn't help me get to sleep. But for some people, obviously like yourself, it's quite a nice process to follow. So yes, individual, I'd say. But yeah, I like to kind of just do my little journal, and hit the light, say a few positive things to myself, and then try and drift off to sleep. But I'm not perfect, and some things will, drift into my head, and I'll be like, oh yeah, shit, I've got to do that. But I'm working on being more present, so it helps me just to kind of put it to the side, get to sleep. Yeah.
I might try that. I might try like thinking about the day that I've just had rather than the day that I'm looking forward to. Typically, the next day I'm pretty much always looking forward to, which is quite nice place to be.
Yeah.
I think. I can't think of any situation I'm not looking forward to tomorrow for a long time.
Yeah, and that's powerful, because even more recently I've been doing that as well. I don't know whether kids do that to you as well. I know that I really enjoy work. You said earlier about really enjoying work and obviously family time, but I really love working. Working is probably the wrong word. I enjoy creating.
Yeah.
I like creating and seeing what's next. I really, really enjoy that. And actually, I go to bed now. looking forward to waking up and doing my non-negotiables and having coffee.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bed. I'm like, I can't wait for my morning coffee. It's just a really nice place to be. Yeah.
I think work, depending on how you, if I say work, that can mean one thing to one person and one thing to another. And for me, my work doesn't feel like stereotypical work, but that's the only word I've got for it. Is like when I go to work, we're doing fun stuff. I'm enjoying it. There's stuff during the day that like I don't enjoy more than others, but I don't do anything that I hate. But there'll be some people out there that like work has a very specific meaning to them internally because they hate their job or whatever. It's been ingrained in you that work's a bad word, and you'd rather not do it. Whereas like over the Christmas period, I couldn't wait. Like 2 days off, I was like, can't wait to get back to work. Like it was killing me that I had to be away from work for that long. It's like, that's why sometimes I think it's like not healthy to want to work that much. But it is just this. It's my place of. It's like a Rob Dyrdek's fantasy factory. It's just like you can do anything here, literally do anything, and like you conceive of an idea that's related to what you want to do in terms of creativity. We can make it happen.
I love that.
Which is like you just do you want to learn about? Let's learn about PR and bring that in, or who fancies doing a course on 3D rendering? Let's do it.
Yeah,
Why
and that's
not?
what I find inspiring about you. It's this kind of, we've been working together a long time, but it's this, I kind of want to do this. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And we have a bit of back and forth and you go, I'm going to do this. I'm like, great.
See you in a
go ahead
week.
and do it. And then it's like, it's done. And I'm like, it's inspiring. It really is. And that is clearly because you're very passionate about what you do and you love what you do. So and it's awesome to see. It is really.
It's that thirst for knowledge, It's like kind of obsession with like YouTube until 2 a.m, learning things, even if they're not really going in. Even if you're not that interested, you're just like, that's cool,